So you could come to a seat and find your presence that way, or if it works for you better to move around a little bit, you could go to your mat and just begin some movement. I want to read something this morning from a fellow named Robert Sardello. Robert Sardello. As soon as we touch into heart, we find ourselves in intimate relation with invisible presences. We do not navigate the primordial currents of heart alone. Most immediate is a sense of being within the heart, as the heart as holy, as in the heart as holy relation. We continue practicing not for mastery, but to constantly bow within the temple of the holy body, increasing awareness and allowing our awareness to unfold gradually on its own timing, resisting the urge to understand by naming, rather learning the speech of the heart. So the invitation is always, when we enter the body as a temple, is that we're not entering here and we're not practicing here to gain something necessarily. So we're moving from this thinking about to presencing within, right? So moving from thinking about, that's an external thing, to presencing within. Take a few more rounds of breath in your seat, or if you're on your mat, moving around. Just a few more moments before we work together. And then we'll all come to our back on the mat. So you could softly open your eyes and shift yourself over to your mat. We're working in the front body today. We've worked laterally, and we've worked the back body, and now we're into the front body. And of course, all these things, everything is intricately composed, right? So working in the front body, and you might think, oh, we're gonna do lots of back bends, and we are gonna do some back bends, but we have to have a strong back to open up the front. So we'll start on our back, and I want you just to move around in such a way that it allows you to feel length in your back body. Have a block handy nearby. So for you, it might just be stretching everything long, arms overhead, legs long, and drawing your feet into toes up towards shins, so the Tadasana feet. And just feeling the length of your back, the strength of your back. And then we'll bend our knees, set the soles of your feet on the floor, press your hips up, and just set your block in the setting where you have the most purchase, right? You want this wide side of your block to be underneath your sacrum. And then just stack your knees over your hips. So make sure your whole sacrum is firmly on the block. And then we'll reach just one leg out and allow the front of the hip to open. Take a couple of breaths here. And then you can bring that knee in and release the other leg long. Do keep some engagement in your belly, so upstroke the navel. Couple breaths on this side. And you can play around with, you could take this slowly. You could see what both legs extended feels like in your body. Might be too much for you. If it is, just pop the block out and go back to just lying on your back with the legs extended. Again, we're just trying to get a little release in the front of the legs. We did legs, we did the upper legs, quadriceps on Monday, so you might have a little soreness there, tightness. And then if there's anything else you need while you're on your back, if you want to bend the knees, take some windshield wipers. If you need anything else, go ahead and do that. And we'll meet in a breath or two in table. So coming into tabletop with your knees underneath your hips and your hands underneath your shoulders. Just a few cat-cows feeling into your spine this morning, this evening. And again, that great invitation to be presencing with your body instead of being outside your body and thinking about it. Great, and then from here, let's reach the right foot back and turn the toes under. We did this last week. And press your heel back, stretch the calf muscle. Press into your hands, really press your hands into the floor, push the floor away, drawing your back up towards the ceiling, draw your navel up and in, and really gather at the waist, and then lift the left knee off the floor. Now really get familiar with this, all this engagement. Take the left knee back to the floor. Keep that same engagement, lift the right leg up. Toes point down towards the floor and hips are level. And then reach the left arm out. Okay, and then you can flow here. On your exhale, bring your knee and your elbow together. And then inhale and reach everything long again. Just a few rounds here. Spinal balance. And then the last time you reach long, see if you can bring the leg up a little higher and the arm up a little higher. And release. Release your hand, release your knee back down to the floor. Take a couple rounds of cat-cow. And then we'll reach the left foot back, turn the toes under, opening the left calf. Press the heel back. Press your hands into the floor and reach your back up towards the ceiling. Gather at the core and then lift the right knee. And then understand Really feel the engagement that you have. Set your right knee back down, and with that same engagement, lift your left leg. Look back at your foot, all 5 toes point down to the floor, and then reach the right arm long. And then you can vinyasa or stay. So on each exhale, bring your knee to your elbow. Inhale to reach long, and exhale, bring the knee and the elbow together. Do a few rounds here. The last time you reach everything long, see if you can bring the leg and the arm up a little higher. Feel the work of the glute, your back, and then return hand and knee to the floor, and a few cat-cows, neutralizing, coming back to some symmetry in your body. And from here, turn your toes under and press your hips back, downward facing dog. And whatever you might need here, if you need to bend through one knee, the opposite knee, just to work through into your legs a little bit. But come up on the toes at some point and really press with the hands, press back, press the hips back, and feel for a lot of length in your back. You really want the length in the back for back bending. Then you can reach your heels down towards the floor. Might feel nice to come up onto your toes and take your heels to one side and then the other. Let your body speak to you here. And then rock forward into the high plank. Feel the strength of your back working. So shoulder blades move away from each other and down the spine slightly. And then come back to the downward facing dog and walk your hands back towards your feet. Inhale to a halfway lift, long spine. And then bending through your knees, you'll take your hands to your hips and press up to standing. Great, now you'll need your strap. If you don't have a strap, it's fine, but you really will feel this with the strap. You can take your strap and take it around your shins, just below the knees. So I've got my feet about hip distance apart, and I'm pressing out against the strap. So I'm pressing out against the strap, and I feel this in the vastus medius, vastus minimus. Those are two of the muscles of the quad. So I'm going to press out there, and then I'm going to inhale and reach up with my arms. Taking opposite wrist with opposite hand, side bending, and pressing my hips in the opposite direction. Then inhaling back to center, switching my hand position, side bend, press hips in opposite direction. And back. I'll do that a few times in each direction. So when we open the lateral sheath, the side of the body, we're able to then get to more opening in the back and the front body. So one more time in the opposite direction. And then come back to center. You can let the strap slip off your legs and then come to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach your arms up, and exhale, take a fold. Now bend your knees and inhale your arms into Utkatasana, chair pose. Draw the tailbone down, feel for good length in your back. On your exhale, you'll drop your hips back further, reach your arms forward and come into like a power chair. Really deep. And then inhale, set back up. Still in chair pose, but not a really deep one. Exhale, set your hips back, reach your arms forward into this power chair. And then come back into the halfway, sort of 45-degree angle. Good. Take your weight into your left foot, reach your right foot up and step back into crescent lunge. So hands can start at the hips. Lift the back leg, and lift the heel of the back foot and stack it over your toes. Inhale, reach your arms up. So we're starting to open now through the chest. Now draw your tailbone down towards your back heel. Reaching your ring finger towards the ceiling. One more deep inhale. And then exhale your hands down around your front foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Feel for length in your spine as you reach your sitting bones and your head in opposite direction. Inhale to come forward, high plank. Press into the floor, reach your back towards the ceiling. Firm your legs. And then on your next inhale, walk your feet up towards your hands. Halfway lift. Lengthen the back. Bending your knees, drop your hips back and inhale into fierce pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, take your hips way back, lean forward in a power chair. Inhale, come up slightly. Exhale, long back, reach forward, hips reach back, arms reach forward, power chair. Inhale. Now put your weight into the opposite foot, right foot, and step the left foot back, crescent lunge. You could start with your hands on your hips, or you could reach up with the fingertips. Reach the back hamstring towards the ceiling, stacking your back heel over your toes. If you've got the opening and you're ready, you might be able to also just look up at your thumbs. Head could be straight forward too. Inhale one more time. Exhale, hands down around the front foot. Step back, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here in downward facing dog. And on your next inhale, rock forward to high plank. Press the floor away, reach your back towards the ceiling. Firm your legs. Press back to downward facing dog. And on your next inhale, walk your feet up to your hands. Halfway lift. And then bend your knees, set your hips back, and inhale into Utkatasana, fierce pose. On your exhale, drop your hips back, reach your arms forward, power chair. Inhale, come back up to more of a 45-degree angle. And then taking your weight into your right foot, take your left foot back in crescent lunge. Reaching hands up, reaching tailbone down, lift the back hamstring towards the ceiling. On your next inhale, you can take 1 or 2 steps here, but you're going to reach your weight forward towards your front foot and come into a variation of Warrior 3. Lifting the back leg, maybe leaving the back leg on the floor, and reaching the arms back. And then on your next inhale, sweep the arms back up, step back into crescent lunge. Inhale, reach the fingertips, up, up, up. And exhale, hands down around the front foot, step back to downward dog. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Press into the floor, reaching your back towards the ceiling, firm your legs. Next inhale, bring your hips back, downward facing dog. Exhale, lengthen through your back. Inhale, walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift, reach your crown away from your sacrum. And then bending through the knees slightly, sit back into chair. Inhale, reach your fingertips, feel length in your spine, and on your exhale, let your hips sit back, let your arms come forward in power chair. Inhale back, 45 degrees, shift your weight into the opposite foot, step back, crescent lunge. So this is a back bend. So draw, we want in all of our openings, in the back bend openings, like this, we want the front body and the back body to be the same length if possible. So draw your tailbone down towards your back heel, lift your back hamstring, stack your heel over your toes. And then with 1 or 2 steps, you'll come forward, lifting the back leg or leaving it on the floor in a variation of Warrior 3. Keep the back of your neck long. Inhale, sweep the arms back up, step back, crescent lunge. Inhale, reach your fingertips towards the sky. And exhale, set your hands down around your front foot, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to the high plank. And then take your knees to the floor, elbows in tight, bend through your elbows and come down to your belly. Great. Now, on your belly here, just get comfortable. You might bend the knees and do a few windshield wipers, just coming into your front body, feeling your front body on the floor. Bring your arms alongside your body. Lengthen through each leg, really press the pubic bone into the floor and draw your tailbone down towards your heels. Lift your shoulder tops off the floor, palms press up towards the ceiling, lift your head and chest, lift your legs, Shalabhasana. On your inhale, draw your hands forward and press into your forearms and come up into Sphinx. Isometrically draw your forearms back and reach your chest forward. Now you're going to keep on the top of your feet, and on your next exhale, you'll lift the forearm plank on the top of the feet. And then you'll inhale, you'll drop your legs to the floor, come back into the Sphinx. Isometrically draw your elbows back towards your hips and reach your chest forward. On your next exhale, lift into forearm plank, top of the feet on the floor. And then you'll lower, come back to Sphinx, and you can move through those two shapes a few times, Or you could just stay in Sphinx, opening up the neck, drop your chin towards your chest, moving right to left. You choose what's more honoring to your body at this point in time. And then we'll lower slowly to the floor. Make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on the pillow. Draw your tailbone down. Really lengthen through your back. Really draw your tailbone down. And when you'll feel yourself sort of, you're contracting the glutes to do this, right? Pressing your pubic bone into the floor and lifting your navel off the floor. Then you could bend your knees here and just softly rock your feet back and forth. Come back to both legs on the floor, tops of the feet on the floor. Inhale to lift your head and shoulders. And then place your hands beside your low ribs and press into cobra. And then tuck the feet, keep the tops of the feet really firmly planted. And from here, you might lift into upward facing dog. Draw the chest forward. And whether you're in cobra or upward facing dog, then turn the toes under and press back, downward facing dog. Coming back to the high plank. And then dropping your knees to the floor. Come back down to the floor. Now bring your arms alongside your body. Lift your shoulder tops off the floor. Press your palms up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lift back into Shalabhasana. Bending your elbows, bring your hands alongside your low ribs. Press yourself up and back through table. Take your time and all the way back to child's pose. Keep your arms long. You might even reach the fingertips away and feel a lengthening in your spine, in the shoulder area. Really feel for some length there. And then inhale, all fours, turn toes under, downward facing dog. And then on your next inhale, walk your feet up to your hands, halfway lift. Then with hands on your hips, you can hinge up at the waist. Great, now come into Tadasana with your palms facing behind you. So let your arms rest at your side, palms face back. And on your inhale, just press your hands back. Take a couple of breaths here. Notice how much you take from the low back. Can you lengthen your tailbone down at the same time as you open through the collarbones? Another inhale. And then on your exhale, come to a T with the palms up, palms facing up. Inhale. Exhale, arms to a V. Draw your shoulder blades down and in. Inhale, and then exhale, arms parallel to one another. Drop your shoulder tops away from your ears. Reach your fingertips. Inhale. And on your exhale, bring a hand to heart center and fold. Hands to the floor, step back to the plank. Inhale. Exhale, lower with knees or full chaturanga to the floor. Shalabhasana, lift the palms, lift the legs. Inhale here. Exhale, arms out to the side in a T, thumbs point up to the ceiling. Inhale here. Exhale, reach arms forward in the Y, thumbs point up to the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, if you can, bring the arms straight out in front, thumbs point up to the ceiling. It won't go as high. And then release, take that little pillow with your hands again, reach your tailbone long, bend your knees if that feels nice, and take a couple of windshield wipers. And, you know, for anybody who's never done a lot of back bending, put them in a yoga class and do back bending. Your heart starts racing really fast. It's a lot of work. We'll come back to center and then bring your hands beside your low ribs, press into cobra. Option to take upward facing dog. And then we'll turn the toes under and press back into downward facing dog. And take what you need here in this downward dog. And on your next inhale, walk your feet up towards your hands, halfway lift. And then fold. Hands to hips, hinging up at the waist, come on up to Tadasana. Okay. So I'm going to orient myself a couple different directions for this next posture. So we're coming into sort of a variation of dancer. So you'll take your palm, your hand out to the side. I'm going to start with my left hand out to the side. And you could have some wall space for your other hand if you wanted to start this way. And then bend the same leg. You'll take the inside of your foot. So it's an external rotation in the shoulder. So you take the inside of the foot. So your fingers are pointing out. And then inhale, opposite arm up. Really feel the strength of the standing leg. Draw your tailbone down towards the floor. And then here you could begin to press foot into hand, pull back with the hand, and begin to hinge forward slightly. Any amount is going to give you a back bend here. Coming back to center, and then releasing the long arm, releasing the leg. Okay, we'll take the other side. So again, you're going to start with the palm up and out to your side. Bend the same knee, and you'll take the inside. You'll reach around and take the inside of the foot, right? So that you've got this opening in your shoulder. The inside of the foot. Good. Opposite arm, inhale up. And as you exhale, press your foot into your hand. And if you have wall space, need wall space, use it. Or get off your mat. Sometimes that can make things a little wonky. Pressing your foot into your hand. Hand pulls against the foot. And then you begin to just lean forward. See if you can get an equal pull with the top hand and press with the back foot. And come back to center. We'll come back to the first side. So begin with the palm out to the side. And bending that knee will take the inside of the foot. So it's a little bit easier to get the outside of the foot. See if you can take the inside of the foot. And then from there, and I'm just going to see if I can illustrate this, you'll turn, you'll kind of rotate so that you take the top of your foot with your palm. So the top of your foot, palm of your hand, and then you're going to pull the heel towards the buttocks to get a quad stretch. You can inhale, opposite arm up. Firm standing leg. Reach the, and some of you, if you have a lot of openness in the quad, you might be able to get the heel to your buttocks easily. You could then reach the knee back. Release. We'll take the other side. Palm comes out. Bend through that knee. Take the inside of the foot again, but then work your hand around so that your palm is on the top of your foot and your fingers are reaching towards your ankle. Press your heel towards your buttocks. If you need the wall to balance a bit, just do that. Just take that. Otherwise, quad stretch, opposite arm extended, standing quad stretch, and then you can pull the knee back if you've got the space in your quad. And one more full breath here. And slowly unwind. Come back to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, lengthen the tailbone down as you bend and fold. Hands to the floor, step back to the high plank. Inhale, exhale, lowers with the knees or full chaturanga to the floor. Reach the hands back, palms to the ceiling, press and lift into Shalambhasana. Option here to bend the knees and take bow. Wherever you are, release back down to the floor. Rest your head on a little hand pillow. Draw your tailbone down towards your heels. Bend your knees and take a couple of side windshield wipers here. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press yourself up. And we're coming now to Virasana, hero's pose. So options are, I'm going to try to get the best orientation for you to see this. If you know you can go into Virasana without the block, as you set your hips back, peel your gastrocnemius, peel your calves away so you can set your hips right in between your ankles. If you need the block, 1 or 2 blocks, set the block between your ankles on this orientation, right? The lowest orientation. You squeeze the block with your ankles and set your sitting bones right down on the block. This might be your Virasana, okay? This might be where you stay. If you're here, maybe you can come back to elbows. Now, if you're on the floor, you've got a lot of opening in your quads and you come to the floor, take a look and make sure your feet are pointed straight back. All right, so you've got your legs parallel to one another, and then from here, perhaps you come back to the elbows. And for those of you that can come all the way to the floor, you could come to the floor here, reaching, pressing the shins into the floor, contracting the abdomen, so drop, stroking the navel. If you're here, then maybe you can have your hands behind your head. Just resting behind your head. So lots of opening here in the stretch. Wherever you are, if you're on your back, like me, you want to come to your elbows and sort of come out the same way you went in. So we'll come back. Good. And then we're going to come up 2 knees. This is where you might want to have a blanket roll. And you could also have a block here or 2. We'll have lots of variations. We're coming to Ustrasana, camel. So we'll start with a really accessible variation. So with knees on the blanket, toes turned under, I'm going to inhale, right arm up and reach left hand back for my left heel. And then open side body and front body. Inhale back to center, both arms up. Exhale, right hand down to the right heel. Left arm stays reaching. I'm kind of side bending, so I'm coming over towards the right side, opening my front body and my side body. And I'm just going to move back and forth with that a few times. Inhale. Take your time coming up. You can get a little dizzy. Exhale. Left hand to left heel. And inhale. Up, right hand to right heel. And then back to center. And you can take hands to hips. Draw your tailbone long. Reach the tailbone down. Really sense that the tendency you have to overarch perhaps, and really see if you can have front body and back body the same length. Same length. Okay, next variation is to take our hands to our the back of the sacrum and press the hips forward. Reach the chest, open the chest. So I've got this external rotation, right, in the arm. So I'm opening through the collarbones. You could stay right here. If it's in your spaciousness to reach back and take one hand to each heel, keep pressing the hips forward, maybe looking straight ahead. You could open the throat if that feels okay. I kind of like to keep my head a little bit more upright. And pressing the hips forward, reaching the hands back. To come out of this, you sort of just let yourself spring up. And if you don't feel that spring, you might want to stay with one of the previous variations. Okay. Take a few breaths here, lengthen the tailbone, get front body and back body the same length. Next variation would be to take the tops of your feet to the floor and reach back towards the heels. And I'm not going to do that because that is a little too much for me. So if that's in your spaciousness, you can do that. I'll show you a variation with the block. So if you have 2 blocks, you can set them on their highest setting and take them beside your feet. Press the hips forward, reach back to one block, reach back to the other block. Okay, so it's just like your feet got a little bigger, a little longer. Right, and opening through the collarbones, again, head position, your choice. And when you come out, and when you let your hands go, you sort of spring yourself forward to come out. Take your time. It can be a little make you a little bit dizzy. Draw your tailbone down, lengthen through your spine. Take a couple of breaths here. Great, and then from here, we're going to come down to our belly on either the blanket. So you have your blanket roll. You could also do this on 2 blocks together. I'll show both variations. And we're going to come and put our hip pointers right on the blanket and then rest down. You could rest your hands on a little pillow or rest your forehead on your little pillow hand. And if the blanket feels pretty nice in your body, pretty doable, or you have the 2 blocks, you could try this on the blocks as well. So blocks side by side. You could actually put a blanket on top of the blocks as well. Or if you had a bolster, that would work as well. My hip pointers come onto the blocks, and then I'm resting down. And for me, with my hips here on the blocks, I can really feel the pulsating and vibrating underneath in the lower belly, the diente, in psoas probably is getting a little rest. To come out, you could bring forearms to the floor and press back onto your knees. Set your hips back in a child's pose. And then set yourself back up on your knees. We'll come down to a twisting Ardha Matsanasana. So one leg in, bent in with that heel towards your groin. Opposite leg comes across. Now you could keep the bottom leg long. Right? Just do what feels good. And then let's just start with sort of taking this bent knee and pulling it in. Pulling it in towards our chest. You'll feel some opening in the outer hip, and then just a slight twist towards the bent leg side. If you feel pretty open, you can also take opposite arm to the upper leg, bent leg, and deepen the twist here. You could be sitting up on a blanket. Right, you could be sitting sit bones up on a blanket if you needed to. And then as you unwind, you'll take the other opposite direction, okay? So opposite foot in, coming across, and remember that our sides are not even. So oftentimes we go to the second side and maybe we've got more accessibility there, maybe less. I'm feeling quite more contracted on this side, and I think that's from my hip. So I'm going to be gentle with myself. Bottom leg could be straight. Remember, bottom leg could be straight if that bothers your knees. And then from this twist, you could come right down to Shavasana. You've got about 6 minutes. If you'd like a longer Shavasana, go for it. Otherwise, we'll come to our back and we'll set up into a bridge. So options for bridge, which is a back bend, are to take a block on any, well, I'm not going to say on any setting. This is my favorite setting so that you really have your sacrum supported. If you go to a higher setting, you could consider 2 blocks together. So you have the surface area for your sacrum, enough surface area for your sacrum. Okay, so it would look like this if you just wanted to do a supportive bridge now. Block under sacrum, press into the back of your head, tuck your shoulder blades underneath. Feel an opening through the collarbones as you reach your chin away from your sternum slightly, so you have room in the throat. Okay, and then 2 blocks might look like this together so that I have enough surface area for my sacrum. Okay, so you could rest on 2 blocks. And if you want a more active bridge, we'll start with the arms beside our body, and let's use some of the wisdom we've been gathering and come up onto our heels, press up and draw the heels back towards the hips so the hamstrings are engaged, back line, front line is getting a stretch, so reach your knees away from you, press into your back of your head and draw shoulder blades underneath your back, pressing your arms into the floor, palms down, or interlacing your hands underneath your sacrum and lifting into a bridge. Once you feel that hamstring engagement, you can lower the rest of your feet back down and keep lifting. Keep drawing your knees away from your sacrum. So you're really getting this length in the front of the quad. And wherever you are, if you're in an active bridge, you can slowly lower down. 1 vertebra at a time. Really feel how amazingly supportive it feels to come down 1 spine bone at a time. And then from here, anything you need before you settle into Shavasana. If you're like, wow, I just love all this back bending, you could take the legs long, tuck 1 palm underneath your buttocks, palm down, other, bring the elbows in and bring your head back and come into fish. But do allow yourself some time to then integrate by coming into stillness. Coming into the Shavasana pose and some stillness. So back bending often also called heart opening postures. As soon as we touch into heart, we find ourselves in intimate relation with invisible presences. We do not navigate this primordial current alone. Most immediate is a sense of being with the heart as a heart is holy relation. Heart as holy. We continue practicing not for mastery, but to continually bow within the temple of this holy body awareness, allowing the unfolding of our awareness to gradually, on its own time, take place, resisting our urge to understand through naming and hearing the speech of the heart. Stay as you are. You could rest your hands on your heart space and give out some love, gratitude, joy. And may our efforts be for the awakening and the opening and the increased awareness of that temple, of this temple that houses all of us, our essence, our brilliance. Namaste.